Today on Wide Open, I'm sitting down with someone who refuses to be put in a box. Jameela Jamil is actor, activist, writer, and the brilliant mind behind I Weigh movement. She's used her platform to challenge how we talk about bodies, power, and worth, and she does it with humor, honesty, and the fire that can't be ignored. From the good place to the front lines of cultural conversations, Jameela has been unapologetically herself, and today I can't wait to talk about where she's been, what she's learned, and what she's building next. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so good. Well, you know, the world's on fire, but doing okay with the current context of, well, I guess. How are you?
It's quite a funny sort of like very typically woman, but I guess also just our generation to be like, I'm so good, I'm amazing. And then the reality hits you and you go, but also very sad.
Yeah. It's
because it's chaos, but it's a default answer, isn't it? To people please
really
with a positive answer. Yeah.
But I also think it's like, yeah, I'm turning 40 in October, which I think we're the same age. You're turning 40, correct?
Yes, in February.
And okay, so we're very close. I love this. And I'm just like, wow, I never thought at 40 we would be where we are now as women in the landscape. I'm just like, ugh. Just a little gutted and ready to roll my sleeves up and get to work because we need a lot of action. And I think that's what I am so drawn to you over is your ability to show up so true to yourself and really push the envelope when it comes to like really hard conversations, which I find so powerful. And I'm curious, like I want to hear your story of how you came to this and how you found your voice and what were you like moving through the world as a young girl? Because not everyone feels so confident and really living their truth and openly true to the public and their following without being so worried about controversy and backlash.
Well, I mean, I was quite a quiet child and teenager. I didn't have lots of thoughts and opinions out loud. And this probably carried on through to, I was starting to find my voice around 19, 20 about certain issues like eating disorder culture, etc. But by the time I was 26, I was just so repressed over everything that I tried to commit suicide. And it was the second time I'd tried, and I knew I would try again if I didn't change everything about my life. And I found out that repression causes depression. And I thought that's probably what's going on here as to why I'm so in such a like dark and hopeless place is because I've got so much built up in me over my life that it feels untenable to be able to unravel it. So it's easier just to tap out. So I thought, okay, if I'm going to stick around and try again, I have to change everything really radically and abandon any former belief or behaviour that I used to hold. And so that meant that I lived in upside down land and I entered into a 10-year crash dummy test as to what my life would look like if I did everything in the reverse of what I'd done up until that point. So that meant never holding my tongue about anything, ever. It meant acting with autonomy. It meant doing what I wanted. It meant rebelling in every way that I wanted to rebel and telling the truth to anyone who would listen about what I really thought about society. And so I culled a lot of people in my life. I moved country. I moved, to the other side of the world. I left my relationship. I had, an abortion, which is something that the previous me probably would have felt too scared and too guilty to do. I seized my autonomy and my mental health problems went away.
Wow. So that was your moment of being aware of the power you held.
Yeah, and I mean, look, that's not going to be the case for everyone. Lots of people have chemical imbalances that lead to mental health issues, but mine were directly linked to swallowing abuse and trauma and pushing it down. And, it's just, you don't have a bottomless pit to hide all of that pain in at some point. It's going to come back up. And mine came back up quite young at 26, and I had a nervous breakdown and I've never looked back, and I've only had a few small dips since then, but other than that I've been like not just stable but happy and fulfilled, and I feel very strong, which I never felt in my early life.
I love your vulnerability and openness, because I do think the way you speak about it, it's your superpower. It's not like your crutch. It's not like it's turning your scars into power, which I really think I live my life through it as well. I think it's so important. And I think for so long we've been told to be quiet about those moments in life. And it's so personal and it's not for everyone. But I think it's such a learning moment and pivotal moment in the becoming that if we don't share it, we don't feel that community and that belonging. Would you agree?
Yeah, well, I think it's just patriarchal. It's a patriarchal belief that we should withhold and refrain and have a stiff upper lip. That's very, it's toxic masculinity that's been imposed upon women. Divine femininity means sharing and building community. I mean, gossip is something that was created by women who needed to exchange vital life-saving information. We open our mouths. Like, femininity means telling the truth to one another. And so I think part of my truly embracing femininity was to be able to use my words and communicate and reach out across to other women and make sure that we were all exchanging the truth. So I find it very, very misogynist or patriarchal, I'd say, to hold it in. And patriarchy kills. Look at the state of men. Look at the suicide statistics of men. Look at the mental health statistics of men. Look how many, violent murderers are men. Violent members of society are men. Like, they are in crisis. And partially it's because they have never been instructed or allowed or encouraged to use their words. And so the same thing that was killing them was killing me. And I decided to abandon it and save my life.
That's beautiful. It's beautifully said. Thank you for sharing that. I'm curious though, why did you choose to be so outspoken about women's health? And because it is you've become so blunt, and a lot of people are not used to women speaking so openly about their bodies and their experiences, because it's like you open yourself to a bunch of controversy all the time, because this landscape of social media, everyone has something to say. But why did you choose that specific part to advocate so strongly for the last several decades?
I don't know. I think partially it's because I almost died from this shit. So I don't want anyone else to suffer. And if I could recycle all that pain and trauma and all those mistakes into stopping someone else from making them, even if it's just one life I was able to alter or save, that's enough. That's worth taking on global dislike or global disrepute. Like, it's okay for me not to be liked by a bunch of fucking strangers. Like, I don't like them either. I don't like anyone. I'm incredibly unfriendly, so I've got about 13 people in my life who I hold very dear to me, and I'm really not that fussed about what any Marlon Rando thinks about me, and they shouldn't be fussed about what I think about them. So in the same way that I don't walk around thinking loving thoughts about everyone, I don't expect everyone to have loving thoughts about me. And there's a tremendous piece to that. Again, it's patriarchy that teaches women that it's our job to be liked. We just don't teach men or boys that ever. We teach them to go out there and achieve and become the best that they can be, and a bunch of also bullshit things that we teach boys and men. But with women, we burden them with this task to be liked and believed and understood, and be palatable. And I can't think of anything more exhausting or boring than being palatable to everyone. Everyone's so unique in their tastes.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, there are people who like all kinds of different foods or different sex things. There are people who enjoy someone shitting on their chest. Who am I to try to please everyone sexually, physically, emotionally, intellectually?
Yes.
One size does not fit all. And so I'd prefer to find my community and actually be myself with them. So I think the fact that I knew that I was, whatever had broken me free from that societal expectation, meant that I knew that was my superpower, was not giving a shit what other people, like, genuinely being okay with, never wanting to hurt people, never wanting to offend people. That was always something I did by accident.
Yeah.
But not being okay with not being liked or people finding me annoying was my superpower. And so I was like, okay, well, I don't really give a shit if this industry kicks me out, because I didn't plan on being in it anyway. I was an English teacher, who got discovered and then put on television, and then The Good Place was my first ever acting audition. I just got very, very lucky in my career. And so I always looked at the career as a Trojan horse to make my point. And so I had never had anything to lose. And the reason that I get attacked a lot by the media is because I attack the people that fund the media. And so I'm very dangerous because I've got nothing to lose. They can't threaten me by taking my job away. They can't threaten me by hurting my reputation or taking brand deals away, because that was never my plan anyway. So I'm living, I've always considered myself to be living in this industry on very borrowed time. And I think that's what makes me scary. There's nothing more dangerous than someone who's got nothing to lose. They're just not used to seeing that in the form of a woman.
Yes, that part. But you are giving other women permission to do so. And I love the platforms you use to speak up about the things that people are a little scared or shameful to do, to go against the grain. I feel like we're so taught to follow in line. You have to be this way. And anytime we have an opinion, like you said, or speak up, it's just like, oh, she's controversial. Oh, she's an asshole, or she's a bitch.
She's annoying. Annoying is weirdly the one that is the most effective in getting women to shut up. Do you know what I mean? It's so strange, and I don't really mind if I don't really mind being called annoying. It is who has ever threatened a system and not been annoying? All the people that we think are cool are silent. Specifically the women that are our faves are the ones who don't ruffle any feathers, who just come out and they're obediently thin and they have perfect skin and they look great and they fit whatever trend is going on now and they don't really get political. Those are the women who we look at as the internet's faves. We've never looked at people who challenge systems and been like, oh, they're so cool. Because they're not. You have to be fucking annoying. It's jarring. It's irritating. You're holding a mirror up to society. You're pointing out hypocrisy.
That part.
You're delivering information imperfectly because you're learning as you're going along. It's messy work, and you have to be prepared to be seen as messy because you're not going along with the tide. And so how could you not piss people off for a variety of reasons that are partially your fault or just because you're pointing out something very uncomfortable? I exist in a hyper focus on inconvenient truths. And so it makes me an inconvenient person. And it fucks people off, and that's okay. Because ultimately, as long as I'm getting my point across, that's the main goal.
And you're doing it very well. And I'm just trying to follow in your footsteps a little bit.
Oh, just a little. You're doing plenty.
Just a little bit. But I'm curious.
So much.
I appreciate that. But I'm curious. What was it for you to just be like, fuck it. I'm going to pack my bags. I'm going to go to Hollywood. I'm going to give this a go. And I get this audition for The Good Place and I land it and here's my life now.
None of it was a sort of thought out plan. I'm a very reactive person, which I think if you've ever followed me on the internet, you can probably see. So it's very much so, it's a fuck around and find out lifestyle, but in a fun, positive way where I'm excited to see what's going to happen. And again, this kind of trails back to my lack of care as to my reputation, right? I take risks. I think, oh, that would be funny to try. And if I fail, that'll be funny. And if I embarrass myself, I'll find that funny. My friends will find that funny. So because I'm never trying to impress anyone ever, it means that I have this freedom to make some truly mad decisions all the time, to be like, maybe I'm just going to pack up my shit and abandon my career and move to the other side of the world where no one knows who I am. Maybe I'm going to go and do this. Maybe I'm going to do that. Maybe I'm going to try music production. Maybe I'm going to try acting. Maybe I'm going to become a writer. Maybe I'm going to become an advocate. And all these different things that I try, I just throw myself in at the deep end because that's what men are taught to do. Men are not told to be perfect from the beginning. And so it's just, I think true feminism is not hating men. It's just wanting equality, and equality means that I get to live my life with the same peace and lack of burden that men get to live theirs with. And I very much so look at the way that my boyfriend lives his life, and I try to match that same
Mm-hmm.
energy. I try to make sure we get ready for the same amount of time, and we,
I love
we go
that.
after our dreams in the same way, and we live as unapologetically as each other. And he's great at encouraging me to do so. He never tries to make me smaller.
Well, that's also very important, and I'm curious because I spoke on this last week on a panel, and I want to ask you because I do think it's so important, and I think you are leading the pack when it comes to this. So I'm curious, what's your take on like failure and your take on kind of like stepping outside the box? Because what I'll say is your ability to just run with things and try it. You move differently than most women. And I'm curious because I spoke about this the other day as an athlete who did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't scared to fail. I fucking tried everything relentlessly, and I didn't care what happened because I knew every moment was a learning lesson. And I think so many women are so fucking scared to fail and sit in fear that they choose comfort, that they choose this marriage because it's easy and I have this, the kids and this. And what is it about you? How do you move through life and your concept of failure? Because clearly you didn't give a shit. And I think that makes you really special.
I think I'm maybe more afraid of something else than I am failure, and that is the
Mm,
words "what if." I'm more
mm,
afraid of regret than I am a failure. I'm more
wow.
afraid of being haunted by the decisions that I made that stopped me from finding out what could have happened.
Hmm.
That to me is much scarier than failure. And I watch a significant amount of videos of people, who are either dying or at the end of their life or literally on a deathbed, being interviewed about what they would have done differently. And especially when it comes to women, it is I must be over 90% of the women who are just like, I wish I hadn't lived my life according to what other people thought. I
Mm,
wish I'd rebelled more. I wish I'd behaved worse. And so, I think it feels almost like a conspiracy, the way
mm,
that we push older women out of the way and we get rid of them and we send them to sit by a window. In Western culture, we don't
hmm.
embrace the elderly and the lessons of the elderly. We don't respect our elders. We disrespect older women, specifically older women, and we hide them and we tell them to distract themselves with a race against time and gravity, because older women will tell us the truth. And I think that truth is to rebel and to
Hmm.
fight back and to be disobedient and to live a life for yourself, and to chase pleasure and comfort and autonomy. And I guess I'm racing towards my crone era. Other women fear their crone era, whereas I'm desperate to get there.
Hmm.
And I guess I've been kind of launching my crone era early to try and get all the information I can out to the young ones, before I get pushed out and put by a window. Although that'll be very difficult to do to me, but
I,
that's what it
I
is.
don't see
It's a
that in your
genuine
yes.
it's a genuine conspiracy to shut older women up. We used to really respect the word crone was something that was not negative. The word spinster was not a negative word. Like, all of these words have been turned into something dark and sad by patriarchy.
Hmm.
Older women have the key. They have all of the answers, not just for women but also for men. Therefore,
Hmm.
they are a threat to society. Therefore, they must be removed, erased. And whenever we show them out in public, we must make them perform youth.
Yep.
Every fucking TV show I see with actresses over 50, it's so blurred. I don't know if I'm watching AI or
Yeah,
not.
the beauty effect. It's like this filter.
That we don't
It's
have on the men. And then the
no.
men who are age appropriate with these women, they look like paedophiles, because the girl looks like a teenager, but she's 50. It's ridiculous. It's very distracting. It's very hard to get lost in a TV show anymore with an actress over 40 because of how much they blur her face. It's like a cartoon has suddenly stepped onto the screen. It really pisses me off.
Yeah, and you've been really outspoken lately about the beauty standard. and what's going on in this current landscape. And listen, this is a conversation that is really gonna shift the landscape of how we view beauty. And I think we're really going backwards. So I'm glad that you kind of just put us in that topic, because, you recently spoke about these, GPL-1s, or all of these different drugs that are coming out now that are making people very, very thin. And I just am curious, as someone who's advocating so hard in this space, like, are you worried what the media is doing now? Because we were so body positive, and we've kind of flipped a little switch, and we're going backwards because now everything is thin, 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 thin. And recently you spoke on the Serena Williams thing. I'm curious if you could elaborate on your feeling and thoughts as someone who's been advocating for so long about body positivity and all the stuff you've had to go through and you've experienced firsthand. Has this been hard?
Oh, it's definitely hard and depressing, but it's also just historically accurate that every time the world leads towards conservatism and fascism, beauty standards for women become more restrictive and constrictive, right? So every time you track back through history, any time there is an authoritarian uprising, we always see women expected to become very small, very frail. And the reason women are supposed to look small and frail, listen, just to be clear, anyone who needs a GLP-1 should take a GLP-1. They could be life-saving medications. I talk about the abuse of GLP-1s to fit a very temporary beauty standard, one that always comes along for women to look specifically fragile. You're an athlete. You don't want to look fragile or to be fragile. Strength is your superpower. Strength is women's superpower, while tolerance and our strength is what makes us so exceptional. And it's because of an insecure patriarchy that in order for them to look big and to feel big and strong, they need us to be small and thinner, because they don't feel like they can rise to the challenge. Similarly with, the fact that women are outrunning men when it comes to school, higher education. We're buying homes faster than men are, at a younger age. Women are climbing ladders faster than men in spite of being held back up until maybe 30 or 40 years ago, beyond all belief, not even able to have our own bank accounts. And so the men have been emasculated by other men on the internet to believe that they are incapable of rising up to women's level. So the only possible avenue is to bring women back down. And I find that very sad and emasculating for men. I think that's very offensive to men and boys to be told, oh no, you wouldn't possibly be able to become more emotionally intelligent or desirable to women based on your personality. So you're just going to have to take away women's voting rights. Oh no, women understand too much. We need to take away their education. Oh no, women are speaking to each other too much. We need to stop them from speaking on the internet. How sad to believe, to have no growth mindset whatsoever. And had to have a grown man in his 50s lecture you with a cigar in his mouth about how bringing bitches down is the only way to stay on top. Imagine making men feel like that, like it's like a glass ceiling that's there for men.
Yes.
An emotional glass ceiling. I find it very pathetic and sad for those men. I feel very bad for the boys that are being told this. And women have got experience of being told you'll never do better than this. So I know how that feels, and it's very, very dark. And thank God women have pushed each other through that ceiling to start to achieve. But I do think we're rolling backwards. Specifically regarding the beauty standards of extreme youth, despite however old you are, like how normalised the facelift has become, how normalised Botox was, and then we were told it was safe, and then we found out it wasn't safe, so we were told filler is much safer, and filler's great because it dissolves within 6 months, and now we found out that filler did not in fact dissolve within 6 months, and 10 years later people are still finding it on MRIs, and actually it's not good for you and it's not good for your immune system. Facelifts only last, I think, 5 to 10 years, and you have to have another one, and eventually you run out of skin. So it's just this endless pursuit of youth. But my point is that this obsession always comes along when women need to be distracted, when women are doing too well, when we need our eyes taken off the ball, is when the most obscene beauty standards are imposed upon us. And this is the most powerful women have ever been in the world, and this is the most obscene our beauty standards have ever been. forever youth, forever thinness, achieving winning against time and gravity, obsessed with collagen, obsessed with hairlessness, all very paedophilic. Like everything's very paedophilic because we have a world that is being largely navigated by a small minority of pervert men who want to have sex with teenagers, who want to normalize their desire to have sex with teenagers. So they have normalized the beauty standard being as close to teenage as possible so that it doesn't look freakish for them to want to have sex with people who are practically children. And this small group of paedophiles have managed to control our entire beauty standard. There's plenty of men. I'm with a man who is attracted to grown women. There are plenty of men I know who do not fancy teenage girls, whose preference is not teenage girls, and whose preference isn't super skinny, and whose preference isn't white skin or a button nose or the doe eyes.
Yes.
There are many men whose preference isn't tall and thin or short and petite. There are men who love muscly women. There are all kinds of different beauty standards out there and different preferences. Women fancy different things in other women. It's truly bizarre how many of us are expected to fall in line with this uniform of beauty standard. It makes no sense to me. It's truly just paedophilia, fascism, and conservatism.
So I'm curious, what advice would you have for this younger generation who are now rethinking how they want to live in their own body because of what you're talking about?
First of all, you have to be very careful about who you're following online. I think it's something like 90 seconds from when you log on as a young woman or a teenage girl before you are directed, before content is directed towards you that is telling you to alter your appearance and eating disordered content, for example. So you're being hunted via algorithms by predatory content to make you feel bad about the way you look. So you'll spend your hard-earned money in a world where you don't make as much money as men. Spend all of your money on fixing something that was never broken when it comes to your aesthetic. I would also say that something that really helped me, and I don't know if a lot of people feel this way, but I'm very powered by spite. And every time I look in the mirror and think a negative thought about myself, I imagine a man making more money from that thought. There's a group of men who want me to feel that way, who are going to get richer if I feel that way and do something about it. And
I need to do this.
I love the idea of spiting them by choosing myself and not succumbing to their desires, their pervert desires of what I'm supposed to look like and how I'm supposed to live my life. And third of all, and this is probably the most important thing, is that no one cares about the second half of your life, as in patriarchy doesn't care about the second half of your life. And the second half of your life is when shit gets really great, right?
Yes.
I can feel the turn happening of me being the happiest I've ever been, having the best sex I've ever had, having the most
Say it
fun I've
again,
ever
say it
had.
again, say it again.
Turning 40, like I cannot get to my 40s fast enough.
Yes.
I've never felt more sane, more whole. I've never understood the world better. I've never understood myself better. I am at ease now.
Yes.
Now, this is the bit where women become really scary to men who are insecure. And so they don't care what happens to us, which is why they sell us all of these quick fix things that have tremendous damage that can be done that will show up later, right? So if you don't eat enough, you will develop osteoporosis, which is a lack of bone density, which is going to make you brittle. So when you just bang your arm or you fall over, you'll break a hip, you'll break your arm. You will become a brittle older woman. And I don't mean old, like 90-year-old. I mean 40s, 50s. This stuff will start to ruin your life. You will thin your heart. You will destroy your mental health. You will destroy your gut microbiome. You will, which will then in turn impact your ability to produce serotonin and dopamine. You will fuck up your teeth. You will fuck up your hair. You will spend, I think they said something like 18 years is on average how much of a woman's life she spends thinking about her body and diet culture.
Really?
Yes. I was just one study I read, but they were estimating how much of our lives. So I'm begging you, if you want to be a wild, strong, grown woman who feels happy and healthy and lives a long, strong life, please eat properly. Stay away from anyone who's discouraging you from doing so. Learn about proper nutrition, learn how to nourish yourself, lift weights, get strong, become harder to kidnap.
Yes,
Like, please,
exactly.
God. I saw
Yes.
this like slogan going viral on TikTok that was like, stay skinny, stay safe.
I'm sorry,
This
what?
the smaller and the lighter you are, the easier you are to kidnap, right? You need to learn how to fight. You need to learn how to fucking beat someone up, I think.
The fact that we have to even think about this is just so
Ridiculous.
fucked.
It's
It's
so
fucked.
ridiculous. But look at the world right now. You've got people dressing up as ICE agents, kidnapping women and
Yeah.
sexually assaulting them. This is not a time to be frail. This is
No.
not a time to be skinny and be easier to lift and carry away in a van.
No.
This is the time to be, we should really be getting as fat as possible and as heavy as possible and as strong as possible.
Strong. I
We
know.
should be wearing anchors on our ankles. This is a
Oh
time to
yeah.
be immovable. Like I want to wear armor made like with spikes all over it
Yeah.
right now.
I'm
This is
I'm
how
on the
unsafe
journey
the
with
world
you.
is.
Yeah. I agree.
So I want to get as strong as possible. I'm learning how to fight at the moment. It feels amazing. It's
Tell
changed
me,
my gait.
I
You know.
love this. Tell me more because you speak so much about body positivity and the movements, your period poverty, women's health. You advocate for so much. What do you do for yourself to take care of your body?
Well, I mostly walk and run around with my dogs, but boxing is very important to me.
Oh, I
I like
love
to,
it.
I like to hit. It has massively reduced my rage because I get it out somewhere.
Mm,
It's very important to get your rage out, especially as I'm, hurtling towards perimenopause. And then I just eat very well. I eat delicious, nutritious food. I eat what I crave. I don't
mm-hmm.
diet anymore. I don't restrict. When I feel as though the clothes are too small, I won't wear the clothes. I
Mm,
don't participate. Like, I was supposed to go and do a bunch of shows that I was supposed to go to as part of my job, fashion shows, etc. And I tried on the clothes and the clothes are too small. Now, my options are I can spend £1,000 of my own money to alter each item and feel bad about myself and
mm-hmm.
uncomfortable. Or I can go, well, no, fuck you, I'm not going then. Like, enjoy not having certain people turn up to your shows because you're so untalented you couldn't design something for an adult, a variety of adult woman bodies.
It's so true.
So like, I protect my mental health in that way. If I get less jobs because I'm not super skinny and because I don't have a very, very tight face of an 18-year-old, then maybe I'm just not supposed to work in this industry. But I refuse to, women are already at so much risk and so many things. So we have the most autoimmune disorders. We are endangered by men everywhere we go, not just strangers, but more so the ones that we know in our own homes. It's like, am I not in enough danger already that I have to endanger
Exactly.
myself, that I have to get a Brazilian butt lift, and then that they kill loads of people, and then now people have been told, oh no, actually we don't want you to have an arse, so they're getting their Brazilian butt lifts
It's
reversed,
so
or
scary.
or their implants removed. It's like in, out, shake it all about. Like, what is this? I
What are
have
we
enough.
doing?
I'm in enough pain. Like, my friends have endometriosis, like PCOS. We have most of the autoimmune disorders. Women are struggling enough. We go through enough pain. I get my period every month. I have to exist in this world where reproductive rights are being taken away, where our
Mm-hmm.
gynecological health is being taken away,
Mm-hmm.
where our health research and studies are being deleted in
Yep.
perpetuity. Why on earth would I subject myself to more pain, more risk? All these things carry
Yep.
significant risks, lifelong risks. They can kill you, they kill people, these things. Why would I do that voluntarily in a world that's already trying so hard to kill me? Why would I help
Be
them?
because we're told our job is to care for everybody else but our fucking self. And that's why we're dying earlier. That's why men need women to live longer lives and we live shorter because we are constantly, always taking care of other people besides ourselves.
This is why I refuse to get married or have children. Like, that was for my personal decision, was just, nope, I've lived a life of service. I can't be bothered anymore. I'm not doing anything else now for anyone else. I will, exist in my advocacy within that boundary, but outside of that, this life is for me. And as I kind of alluded to earlier, women are taught that, pleasure is a privilege and not a right, and that is incorrect. That is false propaganda.
Yes.
Life is for pleasure, and you should be seeking it everywhere you can, especially now during these terrible times. And this life is yours to live, and you will regret it so much if you do not try and find out who you really are and what you're really capable of. I was talking about this recently on a podcast that I went to a party of all lesbians. Right, there was normally when I go to a gay party, it's predominantly gay men.
Yep.
And then you've got some gay women, and for some reason they don't normally fraternise together in England, I guess, as much. But
no, that's
even in LA,
too.
it did feel quite separate. So I went to a party of almost exclusively lesbians, and for the first time ever was in a room of all women expressing themselves, dressed comfortably, being unbelievably funny, out loud and unapologetically, being opinionated, arguing with each other without it becoming a fight. Everyone felt so secure. There was such a feeling of safety and ease in the room. There was pizza and women were actually eating it. And I just thought, Christ, this is who all women would have been if men hadn't been looking. And, gay women, of course, go through so many different types of scrutiny and being forced into all kinds of different boxes. But even bi women have this. Bi women still feel some sort of responsibility to morph themselves into what would be attractive to the male gaze. And what lesbians, in particular lesbians who realise they were lesbian young, appear to have, to me, from all the women I know who are lesbians, who have always known they are lesbians, or from when they were very young children, is they have grown into the person they were always supposed to be so much faster than straight and bi women that I know. And
I agree.
And I feel as though all women should be raised in a commune of lesbians.
There we go. Because you nailed it.
Because without the male gaze is the only way you're going to learn who you really are. And these women were so self-actualized and so joyous and so unapologetic, and it made me very happy and very sad all at the same time to think of how many of my friends reduce themselves even when there are no men present. Because if you do that enough in your entire life, if you make yourself small for long enough, it's a kind of default setting. And it's only in tiny bursts of one-on-one contact with another woman that you might let out some of your true inner goblin. And that's devastating. So even when women are in a crowd, they're just still in a group together. They're still hiding parts of themselves from themselves. Women don't know how funny they are to themselves. They don't know how smart they are, how capable, how opinionated they actually are, because they're self-censoring. And so my life is about no longer self-censoring, figuring out who I am, removing the mask, and encouraging other women to do the same.
And you're also saying go to more lesbian parties, 100%,
clearly. 100%, yeah. 100%.
That's all I'm hearing.
I was talking recently with an older woman, who's my kind of go-to crone, about the rise of the 4B movement. This is, I think it started in Korea, right? South Korea, where women are kind of moving into communes with one another and abandoning.
It's happening all over the world now.
Men, and now that's happening all over the world. And I was saying that to her, and she said, "What do you think convents really were?" And it hadn't really occurred to me. She was like, making it about God was the only way to make that socially acceptable. For women to go, oh my God, I'm so fucking done with men.
Yeah.
I'm just going to piss off here to this just wonderful commune of women, and we'll all wear the same outfit and whatever, and just live in peace, and it'll be a comfortable outfit.
Peace and ease.
Peace and ease and safety. And they've made themselves, because of because of God, untouchable. And so they were generally left alone. And so I realized, and it hadn't, for some reason, it had never occurred to me. I really looked at it just as a religious thing. And she was like, no. She's like, that's something that we did to get away from men.
Exactly. Oh, it's so good. And I'm glad we agree on this. My lesbian group of friends, we always are talking about where are we going to buy just a whole compound of all of us just to go live in peace, because we need it, especially right now.
Yeah.
But I will say this, for those of you who don't know about your podcast, Wrong Turns, it is fucking hilarious.
Oh,
And before we run out of time, I really want you to talk about your podcast because it's so different in the landscape now of everyone. Everyone has podcasts. Everyone.
yeah.
But what I love is like yours is light and it's so tastefully done in a way that's so in your fucking face. I really want you to talk about why you chose to do it, what it, our viewers and listeners maybe have never tuned in. They should. It's called Wrong Turns. But tell us about the podcast and why.
It's sort of, it goes in line with what I'm saying, but also is nothing like how I am, I guess, in my kind of day-to-day version of me that people know, which is that I talk a lot about very serious things and social structures, etc. And Wrong Turns is my kind of escape from that to exist only in the absurd and silly. So it's a comedy disaster podcast about all the most embarrassing shit we've ever done, or ever created or experienced, that has no great silver lining. There's no inspiring pearl of wisdom shoved up your ass at the end of a disaster story. It's just unabashed mortification, and it's the podcast. Well, our tagline is "It's where dignity goes to die," and where it really falls in line with everything I stand for is it's me and all of these other brilliant people, just without shame, telling the truth about what appalling little gremlins we all really are. And it's been so liberating to say so many humiliating stories out loud in the public and just have them live there and have people, and women in particular, bond back to me and relate to what I've said and the humiliating things I've done or undergone. And so it's a very bonding podcast where you will feel less alone in the mistakes you've made, in the terrible things you have experienced. It's very trauma free. It's very, very silly, very surface level. And it's just a 35-minute escape every Thursday from this dumpster fire earth where you can just laugh and enjoy the world for a second and feel less alone. I think, it goes against perfection culture. It goes against inspiration culture. We're anti-inspiration, pro-commiseration. And I think it's just this much needed respite. I'm always thinking about what I need in the world. And then when I can't find it, I make it.
I love that.
And so this was just something that I needed as an outlet. And people seem to really enjoy it. So that's nice.
It is exactly what we need right now. So thank you for being the education piece, but also the lightness. Like, it's just really beautifully done. And more people need to tune in. So everyone out there, turn into Wrong Turns, because it is absolutely an incredible podcast. And I'm curious, for a woman who does so fucking much, I can't imagine you even have time to do anything enjoyable. But what's next for you?
I don't know. I don't think I want to do very much anymore. I think I'd like to.
I need rest.
I think I'd like to rest. I'm writing a film and a TV show, and toying with a book. I write on Substack. I write very, very, very blunt essays on Substack, all the things that I'm not allowed to say on social media.
This is so good.
I'll get blocked by the algorithm. It's called A Low Desire to Please, which is a review that my dog got from a training school. They said he's very smart, but he has a low desire to please. And I thought, fuck, is that my little... That's a feminist slogan.
Yes.
It's exactly how I feel. I have a low desire to please. So I've written a very unapologetic Substack that you can read every week. But I think I want to spend more time living with my loved ones, spending time with my dogs, enjoying what's left of the freedom of the earth, in seeing things in the world, kind of putting the sun on my skin. I don't know about you. I don't feel terribly ambitious when it comes to projects. I feel very ambitious when it comes to getting the word out there to the world, but I also feel very inclined to practice what I preach, which is that as women we have suffered enough and the world is horrible and we must seek out pleasure. So I personally, for now anyway, am on a mission to pleasure before the hot flushes start.
Yes, and I'm with you. I'm like, ooh, what are we about to get into?
I have no more desire to really achieve anything. Yeah. Now I just want to have fun.
Let's do that.
That feels like a I don't know, sacrilege to say, but we need balance in this world, and if I'm going to fight the fight, I need to also play.
We need balance. Yeah,
So,
especially right now. And
yeah.
I appreciate how you show up in this world, and bringing everyone with you, and giving people permission to live life this way through this lens.
Well, likewise, you face so much misogyny and so much shit also from other women who have been indoctrinated by misogyny, and I really appreciate the way that you show up publicly and what you do with your platform like that. What you do is not easy, and then you've also been putting your body on the line, so it's a 360 assault, and I really appreciate humans like you for doing what you do and making a statement out of it, because you have clearly inspired so many young women. And all of it, I don't know about you, but for me, all of the shit becomes worth it if I can turn it into gold for someone else.
Yes, that part.
And that's the power of women. That's the magic of women. And that's why they're trying so hard to destroy us. Because we're so good. We're so wholesome. We're so strong. We're so powerful. We're so intuitive. You only ever seek to destroy something you're terrified of. If they didn't think we were a threat, they would leave us alone. They are going above and beyond and so far out of their way to hold us back and subjugate us, because they're terrified of what would happen if we actually stopped thinking about our skincare and our weight and our age and actually started to go after what we want in this world. And so do it out of spite.
You are always dropping bombs. I love it. Thank you so much for being on the show this week. Thank you for being vulnerable and wide open, and most importantly, yourself. And I appreciate the fight, the good fight that you choose to do every day in the way you show up. So
I'll see you on the front line, mate.
Listen, we will be holding hands on the front line. We will not stop. And I think that's what makes us unique and special. And I appreciate you taking the time today. We all do. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of Wide Open, and we'll see you next week.